Raul Alvarez.
Yes, sir.
You are a jiu-jitsu black belt. Now, before I go on and say what other things you are,
Oh, man.
I saw you get your black belt. I was there.
Yes.
And I was brand new to jiu-jitsu. It was 4 years ago. I was brand new. And I thought, oh, this must happen all the time because it was in the first few days and I saw you get it.
Yeah.
And then now I understand how rare that is. So jiu-jitsu black belt. You're CEO of KickFit. It's an academy.
Yes,
KickFit
KickFit Martial
success.
Arts.
KickFit Martial Arts in Cooper City, Florida. You're a father of 2, and you're a widower, and you're pretty young to be a widower.
Yeah.
We'll talk about all that stuff. How you been?
I'm doing good. Thank God. Every day above ground is a good day. So yeah, doing good.
You have a black belt in jiu-jitsu, but tell me what other things you practice and what belts you have.
Well, my first experience in martial arts within taekwondo. So I did that. I've been doing that for like close to 30 years now.
Wow.
So I would have 5th degree in that. And then jiu-jitsu I've been doing for about 14 years. And I also train in Krav Maga. So at my school at, KickFit Martial Arts, we train both Krav Maga and taekwondo. So I I'm not teaching, like strict jiu-jitsu in my school per se, but I definitely adopt a lot of the concepts, the important concepts that I feel are important that our students need to know, in terms of, you have an attacker on top of you, how to get up and escape,
And what's the difference with Krav Maga? It's that you could grab a stick on the floor and poke their eyes out. Is there no rules? What is Krav Maga like?
Well, Krav Maga is basically, it's not a martial art. It's more of a self-defense system where, anything goes, you see a bat or you see a chair, you throw it if you need to keep some space between you and an attacker, you can do it.
So there's no competitions for this?
Absolutely not. It's not sport-based at all. It's basically, it's a mixture of all the good martial arts. So, you got some kickboxing in there, you got some jiu-jitsu, you got some karate techniques. It's all blended in. And the system was developed back in Israel for the purpose of protecting everyone. They're constantly under fire. They're constantly fighting in the communities. And when I say everyone, I mean everyone. I mean grandmothers, fathers, husbands, wives, kids.
Yeah, everybody.
Yeah, so it's kind of a requirement. It's kind of like one of their things that they have to do just as a society to survive.
Oh, yeah. Israelis are different. There's a mandatory military for a couple of years. Yeah. And then you see in civilian clothes in Israel, I don't blame them, walking down the street with machine guns, right? They got rifles on their shoulder, civilian clothes. You see this. Maybe it's in heist alert. Maybe it's like right now. But I saw a video on Instagram the other day that showed just regular family, and the guy or the wife has a rifle hanging off the shoulder.
Yeah, there's a lot of problems over there going on constantly. So they want people to they developed the system to kind of develop a system that you can learn, that anyone can learn, and learn as fast as you can, so that it could be effective, to keep them alive.
So if there's no real rules, you can just grab anything and beat somebody up. When you're teaching it, is there a lot of correction? Like, no, you're doing this wrong? Because
when I'm teaching it, it's all based off of a frame. You're in your fighting stance. There's a certain position where you got to keep your hands. There's a certain stance that you got to hold, and that position kind of segues into so many different things. Like if a wrestler was trying to shoot at you, you'd be prepared for that. But at the same time, you're also in a position ready to throw a kick if you need to. If someone were to grab you, you're able to go ahead and create space. Or even just throw a punch. Your hands are in a position to defend or to strike or to grab.
A wrestler's going to shoot. You got all the options. You can sprawl.
Sure.
You could throw a knee in the face. You could kick. You do whatever.
Well, yes. I mean, of course, with practice,
Yeah.
Some are better than others.
Yeah.
But that's with any martial art.
The only thing is there's no competition, so you never contest. You can't, like in jiu-jitsu, we can go all out.
Mm-hmm.
I know when I roll with you, I go all out, and you're barely paying attention, and you're still having your way with me. But in Krav Maga, you can't go all out.
You can go out. I'll be honest with you, there's some schools that are a lot more closer to reality-based training than others, but I tell people, something's better than nothing, and it all depends on what you can do, and you could say the same thing about jiu-jitsu. There's different intensities with different schools and taekwondo and all that. But, at the end of the day, it's better than just sitting on the couch.
Sure. Absolutely. Getting movement. Where does, and you have a lot of experience in this, where does Renzo Gracie, where we train in Weston, where we've met, where's that on the intensity level? Because I don't have the same comparison ability, because I haven't seen as many places.
I think it's a great school in terms of preparing yourself to defend yourself against an attacker in the street, for sure. I mean, I wouldn't be there if I didn't feel that way. Yeah. You know, I think not just Renzo itself, but I would say with most jiu-jitsu schools lately, they're becoming very tournament oriented. You know, and I would just say, please be careful with becoming that kind of school. Not that there's nothing wrong with that, but I think just in society in general, you don't want to ignore, you know, the mothers and the fathers that are coming in and the kids, you know, that want to learn strict self-defense, you know.
Yeah. So from a business perspective, you've been doing, how long have you owned your academy?
My academy, 14 years, but I've been in martial arts for about 30.
Dang.
Yeah.
And when you started the academy, was it, you jumped all in full time? Was this a side gig temporarily? So,
like I said, I've been in martial arts about 30 years. So I worked for my instructor for about 12 years. So I started back in 93. And that was a taekwondo-based school. And we did a little Krav Maga as well. You know, the short version of that is I did that for 12 years. Kind of got burned out. Took a 5-year hiatus.
Was that full-time?
That was full-time. Yeah, I was like, I think I started when I was 18 and probably left close to about, you know, about 30 or so, maybe a little after 30. Took a 5-year hiatus, you know, just got burned out, you know, didn't really want to do front kicks.
What'd you do?
Yeah, that's an interesting part. I went into business sales.
What were you selling?
Oh, man, copiers, toner cartridges, super boring. Yeah, what a stretch, huh?
You hung in there for 5 years doing that? How was it?
Man, you know what? I'll tell you the reason why I hung in there. You know, I'm a high school graduate, you know, no college experience, anything like that. But I have hustle, man. I'm a hard worker. And I only got into that because one of my students, shout out to Tony Ivory, he's a good friend of mine. I love this guy for this. He was a student of mine, and I was doing a membership with a membership renewal with him. And he, I think he was running his business, the copier thing, and I was trying to renew him on a $3,000 renewal or something like that. And then he was like, "Hey, listen, I gotta go. You know, I can't talk right now. Let's do this next week." I'm like, "Hey, no, listen, man. We know we gotta do this. You know." Today. So he's like, "Really?" I said, "No, I really can't." "Okay, well, what are you doing?" "I'm going to work. You know, I won't get out till 1 a.m. So I was like, "Okay, no problem. I'll bring my calculator. I'll bring my, you know, the credit card machines that you kind of swipe. I'll bring that. I'll bring the membership. I'll knock it out with you at work." He was like, "Bro, you don't stop." I'm like, "No, I don't. You know, like, we got to do this, you know." And he's like, "Do you want a job?" He told me that, and I didn't think anything of it because at that time I was fine. I was content. And I just kept it in the back pocket, like, you know, I appreciate it. And then, lo and behold, like 2-3 years later, you know, I was in a different space. And I approached him about it. And he told me, and he was like, "Hey, listen, I got this job for you. You know, it's not going to be what you're making now. But if you listen to me and you do as I say and you follow the steps, you know, you're going to be making way more than what you're doing." And yeah, he was a man of his word. And it was true. I mean, basically, when I left working for my instructor, I took a $20,000 pay cut.
Wow.
Yeah, very scary. You know, a lot of tuna and crackers, you know, stuff like that. Yeah, rough.
Did you have kids back then?
I did. Yeah, my daughter was 4. My son was still in the belly, and we had just bought a townhome.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was scary. But I mean, I was in that headspace that I was willing to work, you know, 3 different fast food joints if I had to. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it just wasn't good. I didn't want to be, you know, Mr. Alvarez, world champion karate fighter. I didn't care.
Yeah.
You know?
And during those 5 years, did you give it up entirely? Did you train? What were you doing?
Well, actually, no. I was too busy, you know, focusing on this new craft. You know, a lot of doing that meant not just working 9 to 5, but also, you know, staying up late, you know, doing proposals, you know, setting appointments and things like that. You know, this is something that, you know, I didn't know anything about. But I did a little, you know, in-house sales. That was it. But this is a different monster.
Yeah.
Got into that, and I did well. In a matter of 8 months, I surpassed what I was making, you know, and I was doing well. But, you know, at the same time, I gained a lot of weight. I got to close to 300 pounds.
Wow.
Yeah. And then my late wife, rest her soul, you know, she put her foot down. She was like, "Hey, listen, you know, I didn't sign up for this, you know, so we got to work on your health." So that's when I had my little garage. I set up my little bag, and I started working out and riding my bike and started doing that along the way. And then I dropped the weight, and I got in. And and I told myself, I was saying, "Hey, this weight is coming down pretty quick. You know, I wonder if I can get to 200 pounds, which was to me at that day, that time, it felt impossible. And I was like,
drop 100 pounds.
Well, yeah, I would have been fine with just 220, 230. But I was like, man, maybe I can get to 200 pounds. And I just gave myself like a crazy goal. So I said, you know what I'll do? I'll do an MMA fight, which I've never done before. But I was getting close to 40, you know, and kind of around that time, that was like the good benchmark, you know, that you're a good fighter, you know. So I don't know, maybe I was going through some midlife crisis thing. Who knows? But I told myself that, and then, yeah, sure as hell, I got down to about 205, 210, and I was like, this is going to happen. So then I found a fight promotion company in Orlando that was willing to put me on, and I did that fight, and I won by TKO. Yeah.
MMA?
MMA, yeah. I won in the first round by TKO, the referee stoppage. It was great. What a feeling.
What'd you get him with?
Just a lot of knee strikes, and the doctor had to stop the fight because his lips was kind of like hanging off.
Oh, so the knee strikes were in the mouth?
Yeah, well, hook punches, uppercuts, knees. It was like the fight was a minute, 8 seconds.
Wow.
Yeah. I just blew my wad. I went crazy.
Did you have the endurance? Could you have made it to a second round?
No, thank God the doctor stopped the fight. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you. Thank God, because I was breathing hard.
You left it all there.
And I left it all. And then the ref stopped the fight, and I was like, oh, okay.
Man,
Dodged a bullet. But the funny part of that fight was, you know, I didn't really know any jiu-jitsu. I met Ney Seda. Shout out to Ney. And Santos, my good friend. Tony introduced me to them because he was training in jiu-jitsu. So he brought them over to the karate school I was training at to prepare me for this MMA fight.
Santos Caban?
Santos Caban, yes. Chief instructor at Hensel Gracie Lake Worth. And then, and Ney over there in Alliance in Coral Springs. But they were like, okay, let's at least teach you how to defend, you know, a double leg or, you know, how to escape, how to get up on your feet so you can do what you like to do, standing. And then the guy that came in was a wrestler, but he was an older guy, you know. But nonetheless, I mean, what if it was a guy that really took me down? I would have been out of luck.
How long did you train with these guys to get ready for
Maybe 3 months.
That was enough?
Yeah.
Well, apparently it was enough.
It was that day.
You never went to the ground.
But my goal was to do a couple more fights. And that's the reason why I enrolled at Hensel's. And that's what got me to go meet Stan Beck. Yeah. And then I was like, okay, let me sign up. And I told him, he was like, what are your goals? I go, no, I'm not going to leave. I'm going to stay here till I make black belt. Like, I'm here. Like,
wow.
That's what I told him. And he was like, okay. He goes, I'm not going to bow to you. Because he knows a black belt. I was like, no, it's okay. Yeah. I don't need that.
That's something. You were a black belt in taekwondo for so long.
Yes.
You show up at jiu-jitsu, you put on a white belt, and you stood at the back of the class.
Oh, yeah.
What was that like?
It was nothing special to me. It's what I expected. You know, I wasn't expecting any special treatment because I didn't know anything. Yeah. And I didn't want any special treatment. I wanted to learn it right out. You know, in anything in life, you know, if you want to do good in it at some point, you got to have a strong foundation. You know, so that's how I take everything. Even Krav Maga, the same thing.
Did you go smoothly through the ranks of those belts? Were there breaks in the action?
You mean in the jiu-jitsu belts?
Yeah, jiu-jitsu. Did you stop showing up?
No. I was consistent, pretty much straight through. Yeah.
How many days a week?
When I had more time, I was going maybe at least 3 times a week. At least 3 times. You know, it's tough. The kids were little, you know, so I had to, you know how it is when you're a dad. You know, you come home and they jump on you and they didn't see you all day. So it's kind of hard to like let them go and say no to them. But there, at least I would say for sure at least 3 times. And then whenever I could squeeze in a morning class, I would.
Yeah. And what was so you left for 12 years. You were teaching at someone else's academy.
Yes.
You left for 5 years and sold toner and copy machines and all of that.
Yeah.
All here in South Florida?
All in South Florida, yeah. That school was in Miami Lakes, the one that I resigned from. And then the copier company wasn't too far. It was in West Hialeah, and over there in the warehouse district over there. And then that's when, the economy went, kind of south.
08, 09.
08, yeah. It went south, and that's when my account started dropping, because, I mean, they're not printing if there's no employees to print.
Yeah.
So my account started dropping, and, me and my late wife were talking about it, and we're like, this isn't going to work. We got to figure something out. So I started, remember I was doing the training for the MMA and all that. So I was like, man, let me get back into this, but I wanted to do it on my terms, and I wanted to open up my own academy. So I just sat down and started drawing a logo. I started with that little logo and talking to people and, figuring out what the first thing I need to do, get an LLC and go, buy a license and all that. And then we opened up, it was actually it was called Fight and Fit Training Center originally. not that I wasn't good with kids, but my goal was I really wanted to teach adults. I love teaching adults. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to make it kind of like a hybrid MMA / kickboxing for adults. That didn't go too well because everyone that kept walking in were kids. That's where the money is in terms of, being successful. So, and I was good at it. So I was like, okay, I'll take a couple kids. But then the kid thing really blew up, over the years. And then we kind of like rebranded to Kick Fit Martial Arts, which is what it is today. Yeah. No regrets. God has a plan.
And you've always been in that same location all these years?
No. So the first location we moved in was in Davie, off of University in Sterling. And it was a little small, 1,100 square foot unit. We outgrew that in about a year. So then we moved across the street into Cooper City, into a bigger location. And over the years, we've been up and down, but we're about 230 students now.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Yeah. We're doing very well now. But, like anything else, it's ups and downs, it's peaks and valleys.
And why does an academy, other than an economic crash, why would there be peaks and valleys? What changes? You're putting out a consistent product. There should always be demand. What are the reasons for ups and downs in that business?
It's usually seasonal. I would say, in the summertime, a lot of money is going to, Carnival and Royal Caribbean. And then in the winter, it's more, Jeff Bezos getting it, That's Amazon, right? Yeah. Yeah. So he's getting the money. So it's seasonal. So, and then, as important as we feel martial arts is, at the end of the day, in the business side, it's a luxury. It's either put food in the fridge and pay the rent or, pay for classes, unfortunately. I mean, I feel it's super important to learn self-defense, but, we all got to do what we got to do.
Is the real customer the moms? Because I see a lot of moms at academies when the kids are practicing. Is that who you're selling to?
We get a little bit of both, but, I mean, truth be told, I would tell you, I agree with you. A lot of it is the moms. Usually they're the ones that are able to facilitate transportation. But usually on the weekends, we'll get dads in there. Dads will come by and then, and there's different prospects. We got adults that come in that ask for training, and usually the ones that want to train are the ones that they've trained when they were kids in terms of taekwondo. But I'm finding more adults are interested more in, say, in jiu-jitsu or Krav Maga. They're not really into the whole uniform, bowing and all that stuff,
Because they've grown up the last couple of decades watching the UFC.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I would say in the 90s, 80s, 90s, it was more feasible to sell to adults because of, say, Karate Kid. You know what I mean? Van Damme, that kind of deal. Now it's Horace Gracie, it's Conor McGregor, it's that kind of deal now. So, yeah, it's a little more MMA. I mean, we actually have parents that actually walk in specifically asking for jiu-jitsu or, so, yeah.
Can you convince them?
Sometimes.
Like Krav Maga and Taekwondo? Sometimes.
I mean, to be quite frank with you, I'm more concerned about what is their why? What is it that they want? Sometimes it's a discipline issue. Sometimes it's a fitness issue. Sometimes it could be social. If it's a discipline situation, I would recommend the Taekwondo training, because there's a lot of structure.
Regimented.
Yeah, it's more militaristic kind of frame. Whereas, and not that the Krav Maga doesn't have discipline, but it's more straight to the self-defense part. You get that kid that's been bullied in school, he's small frame and want to build his confidence. That's the quicker route. The Taekwondo is kind of like, you get to it. You definitely learn self-defense. And I would tell you, I'm a much better martial artist in jiu-jitsu and Krav Maga because of my Taekwondo. That's how I feel. But, there's some people that they know what they want, and I just tell them, hey, listen, for what you're telling me, I'm going to recommend this program, and you feel free to try the other things, but this is what I feel will be best for you.
Yeah. Taekwondo has more of that, almost the equivalent of the wax on, wax off that Karate Kid had. I say that from my limited knowledge because my two oldest sons were in Taekwondo when they were little, and they did a lot of hand motions and movements with no opponent, right? And it seemed to me that was just setting them up for something. I didn't have the patience to keep them too long, but they did that for a year and a half or 2 years. Do they, at a young age, do they actually start striking? Because I never saw my kids strike. That's why I took them out of there.
Like I was telling you, there's schools that they kind of have their own, method to how they want to teach. my school, for example, we do forms, which is basically doing the techniques. That's just development of the technique, but we also spar. And we'll do...
At a young age, 9, 10 years old?
Yeah. I mean, you're sparring within the first 4 to 6 months. You're fighting, you know. And even that is gradual. You know, we'll start with just hands and the headgear. And then after a couple of months, you put the feet in there, you're throwing kicks. You know, a lot of people, like even we were saying a bit before we turn on the camera, you know, a lot of people are a little hesitant about getting hit.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, there's some people that are hesitant about kicking people and punching people. You know, they don't want to hurt someone. Yeah. So, you know, as the instructor, it's our job to kind of help people from both extremities. You know, if you're too aggressive, we want to bring you down a little bit so that you have control. And if you're not aggressive enough, we want to toughen you up a little bit. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think martial arts has this ability to bring you into the middle. And I'll use jiu-jitsu as an example because it's what I know a little bit of. It's if a kid comes in with low self-esteem and they can work really hard and see the progress, and they get to test themselves when a new guy walks in and they go, oh, I am improving. That builds confidence. But at the same time, if somebody's cocky and they think they're so great, it really knocks you down.
Sure.
Where you should be, back to normal.
Yeah, sure.
Right.
I mean, even now, even as a black belt, you know, I rolled with a blue belt the other day, and I was like, whoa.
I can tell you it wasn't me if you had that reaction.
No, but when I roll with anyone, white belt, blue belt, I don't know you from anyone. So I respect you regardless. Just walking in and get on the mat. I respect you. So I'm kind of like rolling with you, but I'm paying attention.
You're feeling it out.
Feeling it out. Yeah. I don't care. You know, and I've rolled with white belts and they're like, you know, college wrestlers and stuff.
Yeah, those college wrestler white belts are tricky. No stripes.
Yeah.
But they can flatten people out really well.
And they're quiet. For some reason, they don't share that information.
Yeah, no.
Maybe after the roll.
Yeah, there's a guy came to the academy recently. I think he's brand new. I've met him, saw him probably twice. I think his name's Jake. And I said, you new here? And he goes, yeah, I've only like third class. Oh, cool, let's go. And immediately he shot for a leg like I'd never seen that speed. And I go, whoa, right after we slowed down or whatever happened. And he goes, I go, tell me the truth. How did you do that? And he goes, I wrestled for 5 years or 10, whatever many years.
I think I rolled with that guy.
Yeah, it's like, say that part of it. Don't tell me it's your first day. You've never done this stuff. Yeah, pretty good. All right, I want to change gears.
Okay.
You went through something that most guys don't, and especially not at your age, because when we lose a wife or husband, it's usually toward the end of life for both of us.
Right.
But just a couple of years ago,
that was
lost your wife.
In 2021, my wife had passed away from ALS.
ALS. That's Lou Gehrig's.
Yes, Lou Gehrig's disease. Yeah. It's an autoimmune disease.
How long did she fight that?
You know what? I say this carefully. I'm thankful that it was fast.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it's something that typically when you're diagnosed, that you're dealing with anywhere from between 3 to 10 years.
Oh.
And she dealt with it for about 1.5 years.
Wow.
Yeah, it was it was that aggressive. Yeah.
I can see what you mean, though. You don't want somebody 10 years just seeing that decline.
Especially when you know what the outcome's going to be. Yeah. There isn't a cure.
There's no cure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And does it ever get are there good days, or it just keeps getting worse and worse?
It just it slowly, it slowly declines, you know.
Is it eating the muscle?
It's
control?
To my understanding, it eats the neurons. I'm not a doctor or anything, but it eats the cells in the muscles. It starts attacking different muscles, and then you start losing the ability to control those gross motor skills and eventually fine motor skills. And then, you know, toward the end, it'll start attacking like more prominent organs like your lungs and kidneys, and that's when your body's just basically shutting down. Yeah.
And toward the end, is it hospital, morphine? I mean, what's it like?
Well, I can tell it. That's the thing. It affects people differently. So in our case, it attacked her in the beginning, a lot of muscular pain. This is when she could still walk. A lot of muscular pain, very intense nights, you know, a lot of crying, a lot of massaging. It was just horrible. And then we found some different, you know, I don't know if the term is correct, homeopathic remedies to help with that. We did diet things, nutritional, you know.
Did you know at this point what it was?
No, I didn't know anything about it when I first. To be quite honest with you, when we first heard about it, saw see the symptoms, we thought she just had drop foot, where your foot just you can't
pick it up.
Yeah, you can't bring it up. And so we were seeing
because that's where it showed the first time.
That's where it started. Yeah. And she was tripping and falling down a lot, and we're like, what's going on? And so we went to go see a neurologist and a lot of different neurologists, and they really couldn't even figure it out. I think they kind of had an idea, but it was kind of early to diagnose. And then finally it went from the drop foot to she needed a cane to she needed a walker, and then eventually a wheelchair. Yeah, it was just getting worse and worse and traveling. And then finally I checked her at University of Miami, and we were there for a couple of days, and they made the diagnosis. And so, yeah, that's when we found out.
And how old was she in all this time?
44. Yeah, 44 years old. Yeah, very young and vibrant, good mother, and just, we don't know why, those things happen, but, it was her cross to bear, I guess.
And how old were your kids at that time?
Again, I'm saying this carefully. Thankfully, they were older, so I think my son, well, this was 4 years ago, so my son's 18 now. So 14, and my daughter's 23, so she might have been 19 or 18, something like that, yeah.
So they could understand it.
Yeah, they understood it. I mean, they knew more about it than I did, and I don't wish it on anyone. When I had to come home from the hospital and sit down with them on the couch and tell them their mother's going to pass away, that was tough. Wow. I won't forget that day.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Is that the hardest thing you've been through?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
What does it do for one's life? Like, do you see things differently?
Absolutely. It definitely changes you. But, and she was a black belt, by the way. She was a third
Taekwondo?
In Taekwondo, yeah. So, thankfully for us, we have the character that, we have to keep going, and even through all that, suffering that she was going through, she still kept her spirits up, and she would joke when she could, and she had hard days too, but, she kept a strong face, and that was good, it just reminded us to just keep going. Like, she didn't want us, being sad, she wanted us to keep things going, and the kids were prime time in their lives, so she wanted them to keep learning and studying, and they were homeschooled. And I think Veronica was working, and Anthony was getting into this. Make sure I got a sound here. So yeah, it was just a matter of just keep life going, So it changed me in the sense where, I appreciate life more, and the little things that you do that you complain about, you don't care about it as much anymore. Little things, when real stuff happens to you, not just that, but there's other extreme events that happen in your life. It makes you reevaluate life a little bit, and then you don't sweat the small stuff. Yeah, for sure.
It's almost like it would be beneficial at an early age if we all had some effects like that happen in our life, because I've heard this a lot. My mom, who was always a worrier, she said to me, she went through a rough spell. My mom had a few short years where she had breast cancer with radiation, with surgery, another surgery, a bladder problem where they had to come in and put a mesh to pick it up. Happens to older women. Oh. The mesh failed. They had to go back in and do it again. Then she had a car accident that damaged her spine. She had to have surgery for it. All this happened in such a short time. And then my mom, who was always someone who worried, said to me, I wish this would have happened early in my life, because ever since all of that happened, I'm a better person. I'm a stronger person. Nothing stresses me out anymore. Imagine what a gift to be able to go through some tough parts early in life and then spend the next 80 years being okay with the little things not bothering you, right?
That's an interesting perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And absolutely. I mean, at the end of the day, they lost their parent, my kids. That's how I looked at it. But I'm still here.
Yeah.
And, the responsibilities don't end. Like, I still have to get them on their feet and get them going. And that's the way I looked at it. It was like, okay, well, I'm not going to sit in the house crying all day. I got to move on with my life and be strong for them.
That's fantastic. That's the best approach. Let's talk about your childhood. You grew up here, Miami?
Yeah, I was born in Miami, and majority of my childhood I grew up in Carroll City.
Carroll City, is that a rough area?
Yeah.
It has parts, right?
Yeah. It has parts. I grew up like on 37th Avenue, that area over there. So, a lot of drugs, a lot of, sketchy characters. But my parents, they did the best they could, with what they could afford, and And it wasn't in kind of neighborhood that I could go outside and play all the time. It was kind of, so we were kind of like
Closed in.
Yeah.
Yep.
But I mean, getting older, you understand now why. I was like, I want to go play with my friends, but they knew the kind of friends are out there.
Yeah.
So they did the best they could. But yeah.
I know what that's like. I grew up in a pretty rough neighborhood, and when my parents were at work, I wasn't allowed to go outside, and it sucked. On the summer, I'd get up at 7, and I'd be awake and bored inside the house until 5:30 when they got home. Then I could play outside where they could see me.
Yeah.
So I guess they do that to protect us.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know how it is now, but I mean, there was a lot of gunfire. A lot of the cops were there all the time. So
Miami in the 80s.
Yeah, especially in the 80s. That's when like cocaine was like the new thing. All that. But back then it was really rough.
Yeah.
So growing up as a kid, I was always like, man, I got to get out of here. Like, I don't want to be. I want better. This other. It was kind of funny. I lived right on County Line Road, so Broward, which is now East Miramar, which is kind of rough now, to be honest with you. But back then, it was pristine, man. It was beautiful. It was gorgeous.
Wow.
Yeah, and I was just like, man, I want to live over there. So I don't know how I was gonna do it, but I just kind of like visualized that. So that's where I'm going when I grow up.
So early on, you knew that you wanted something better.
Yeah, I mean, the friends that I could make in that neighborhood, they were nice guys and everything, but they were always in trouble. There was always problems, and we didn't really do the same things.
So what kept you from going down that direction?
So when I was young, I was an artist. I did a lot of drawing and coloring and all that stuff and painting and all that. And thankfully for me, I got accepted into a magnet program that would bus me out of town. So when it bused me out of town, I went to Norland. I didn't go to Carroll City High. I went to Norland Middle and Norland High School. And that was cool because it was a magnet program. So I got to meet, kids from other towns, and then when I got to my 9th grade year, rather than going to different art schools, which which is what everyone pretty much did, I didn't want to do that. I was burned out again, So I was like, I want to get a car and I want to have, I want to fun, So I want to work. So my dad, for my 14th birthday, he got me a job. He brought me a gift box, and there was an application filled out. He already talked to the manager. He was a truck driver for Pepsi Cola for quite some time, and he knew all the managers. So that was my present.
Were you happy with that present?
I was pumped. I was like, yeah, let's go. So he got me a job at a Publix, and right next door was American Senior High. So the counselor from Norland was able to transfer my paperwork there, even though I didn't live there. So that's hush hush. Anyway,
I think you passed the statute of limitations.
Yeah. So I think we're cool. But I started going to American, and when I was going to, and this all gets to the point. When I went to American, I graduated from there, and that's where I met some buddies of mine, these Colombian guys, these brothers, and they trained.
We lost the mic. Uh-oh. I'm gonna have to edit that. What is it? Battery powered?
Nope. Sometimes cables just fail.
Oh.
Very rarely.
Let's see that.
Testing. All right, I got it now. I hear it.
Get it?
Yeah,
I hear it.
Let me see
Yeah.
if maybe I got
I'll change it out before next show.
All right.
See if.
Everybody good?
Yeah. We made it. We did
Okay.
it.
Sorry about that.
It's the hurricane.
That's what it is. So these friends of mine, they were enrolled in
The two Colombian brothers?
There was 3 of them. They were enrolled in a taekwondo school in Miami Lakes. So I went to go pick them up. One day we were supposed to go out to South Beach or something, and then that's when I walked in the school and I saw the just that aura of discipline, and I saw like 30 or 40 adults at attention and in uniforms, and this one guy comes out. He kind of actually coincidentally looks a lot like me, and he was a head instructor. And he had everybody at attention and training hard. And I was like, oh my God, I want to do that. Like that, I want to do that's so cool. And that was the school that I enrolled in. And the guy walked up to me and was like, hey, you want to sign up in martial arts? And I was like, are you interested? I'm like, I'm interested. I didn't think he was trying to pitch me. I just thought he was having a conversation with me. But yeah, $75, free uniform. And I never left.
And that's where you ended up working for 12 years?
Yes. And I eventually became the head instructor of that school and the director of multiple schools.
Is that school still around?
It is, but they my instructor, he had passed away in 2006. So around the time that I resigned, he had passed away of cancer. Rest his soul. Senior Master Andy Silva. He passed away. But he had sold the school to like another instructor, and they're still under that brand, and they're still around.
Those brothers, do they stay in Taekwondo?
No, we lost track. I don't know what they're doing.
Yeah. We're from an era before the internet, so we lost track with a lot of people.
Yes.
It wasn't as easy to stay in touch. What was your childhood like? What was it like with your parents? They're from Honduras?
They're from Honduras. Yeah. It was, with most Latin parents, it's very tough, very strict. My dad, he was a hardworking guy. He was a truck driver, like I mentioned earlier. My mom, she worked in retail. So, a lot of times we were home alone, and the times that they were home, they took care of us, and they made sure we had everything that we needed. There were some tough times, that we had, but there were good times as well. But, I don't want to say it was bad, but it could have been better.
Your kids have it better.
Much better.
Yeah, they have it much better. So tell me something that you are proud of in your life.
One thing that I'm proud of my children. I'm very proud of them. Yeah, good kids. And I'm proud of them because, they're just so resilient, And like my daughter, for example, there's things that when you look at your kids, you see some of the things that are about you that are in them, but you get to see some of the things that you wish you were like when you were their age. And like my daughter, for example, like I'm so proud of her. She's a hard worker. She's working multiple jobs right now. And she's actually working for the company that she wants to thrive in. So she's finally got her foot in the door. So proud of her about that. She's traveling a lot. She's 23 years old now. So she's not a little girl, And then my son, same thing. He's a good kid. He does well in school. He's in community college now.
He's a drummer.
He's a really good drummer. Yeah. And I've always wanted to play drums when I was a kid. So I was tickled pink to see when he was at a young age so interested in doing drums. So we pushed that. He's now teaching drums now.
Wow.
He's teaching drums now at the same school that he learned at. Doing well in school. He's working at Publix as well. And he's teaching drums and he's going to school. So, he's kind of at that point where he's trying to decide for sure what direction he can go in terms of, career. So I'm excited to see what he's going to do. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I haven't seen him training jiu-jitsu as much as he used to.
Because he's just so busy.
Yeah.
He's so busy. He does want to come back.
Is he a blue belt?
He is a blue belt.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a blue belt. And he trained with me in Taekwondo for about, almost all his life.
Wow.
At least 15 years. So he's a second degree in that. So.
Oh. Yeah, he grew up with parents who were both black belts.
Yes.
In,
it was a requirement. It's a requirement to train.
That's awesome. I love that.
Yeah.
What do you think is the role of a man?
The first thing that jumps out to me is a provider. I would say also to be able to protect, and also to develop. And I say that because, especially with the word development, there's just so many different directions. You have to develop your family spiritually, for one. I know people have different views, but whatever your faith is, you gotta have a constant that's centered in your family, so that it prepares you and it's something that you can lean on, and you have like a solid base that can prepare you for any adversities that are definitely gonna come.
And for many people
along the way,
their faith, their religion.
Sure, yeah, absolutely. I mean, even if you're not like, I was talking to my fiance about that. Even if you're not on the way over here, even if you're not, going to church all the time, you at least take a moment, to sit down and meditate or pray, and it does so much for you. Yeah. It does so much. It really does. The power of prayer is strong.
Yeah, it's amazing. Regardless of the religion, there's so many studies out there that show that people who pray have these better results in their life. So it's not about the exact religion. It's about that moment, whether it's meditating or praying to whatever God that person has. It seems to bring some relief. Did you grow up in a faith?
So as a kid, we were put in a Catholic school, and my mom was pretty good. It was really my mom was really good about having us go to church, but she kind of fell off of that wagon. And then for a long time, I just really didn't communicate with God, through my teenage years, like most teens do. You think you're invincible and, you're never going to die,
Did
and that kind of
change after that?
Well,
did you get back into it?
I did get back into it only because my late wife was very religious. She had a very strong upbringing in religion, the Catholic faith. Mm-hmm. And she reintroduced me into it. And because of that, I did at some point get my confirmation done. I only did my baptism and my communion, but I did my confirmation.
As an adult?
As an adult. I did it actually, I want to say I did it around the same time my daughter was doing hers. Wow. So it's kind of like a lead by example kind of deal.
But were you in a class with other kids?
With adults? No.
They do that? They do them with adults? Okay.
Yeah.
It's not like the karate white belt adult next to the little kids?
No, nothing like that.
Yeah.
You go to some night classes. And that was actually a great experience because there was so many people there asking these like direct questioning questions, like, well, why is he on the cross? And
how'd they get all those animals in the ark?
Yes. Stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it was really a good experience, and it helped me kind of get back into my faith, and then even doing it then, I was doing it for my kids and for my wife, just because I was a leader of the pack, and I was sitting there and I'm thinking about, okay, am I gonna miss the game? That kind of deal. And then my wife passed, and then it really kind of forced me to like really have that deep conversations with God, like why,
And it didn't push you away from the faith?
No, closer.
Really?
Closer. Yeah. I mean, I've always had the outlook where you're gonna get good and bad in life regardless. It doesn't necessarily mean that that your God is spiting you. It's just that this is life, and this is where we are, and this is what we're gonna have to deal with, But He's, your God's there for you to help carry you through this, journey, and so that's why I say I went closer, because I was going through something tough. Yeah. And years later, thankfully for me, He blessed me with a fiance that's so loving and so caring, and I love you, Roxy. And the beautiful thing is that this is something, our faith has really been a good foundation in our relationship. Mm-hmm. So now my outlook with religion is more personal now. I always had the faith, but I really didn't really truly appreciate it.
Yeah, you said you were doing it for your kids, you're doing it for your first wife. Yeah. And now it's been really you.
It's really been about me and developing, and kind of like going back to what you were saying, like, what should a man be doing? And I tell my I tell my wife and I tell my kids, it's God, it's man, it's wife, then it's children. In that order. Yeah. And I'm trying to balance a business, finish off raising my kids, not finish, but get them on their feet. Yeah. I'm trying to get married to a great person in my life, and prepare.
Do you have a date?
I first got to buy a house.
Okay.
That's the only thing that's kind of like what's putting us on hold. Okay. It's just the housing market's crazy. Yeah. And I don't think it's cool to get married and she lives in one house, I live in another house. Oh, yeah. It's one of those deals. Yeah. So once we get that narrowed down, then we'll have a date. And we're not going to do anything crazy, but, I'm not going nowhere. She's not going nowhere. So it's fine.
Yeah. And you're not kids. Yeah. No biological clocks are ticking.
No, we're good. Yeah. We're just traveling and eating.
Nice. Yeah. But you are working out. I know you, a few months ago, I saw you coming back in jiu-jitsu more aggressively. Yes. And you said you were just trying to get your fitness back.
I am. And I dropped a few, but I still got more to go, and then, you know what they say about jiu-jitsu. If you're not injured, you're not training. Mm-hmm. I showed you earlier, I sprained my finger. Yeah. And before that, it was a knee, and then it's my back. But I'm going to show up. I'm going tonight, actually, to open mat.
Oh, good. Me too.
I'll see you there.
I'm going to see you there tonight.
Yeah, for sure.
And I'll make an edit to this program if you don't show up.
No, I'll be there.
That's accountability.
Yes.
So tell me, Raul, what's next? What do you see? You're how old?
I am 49.
49. So let's say you live to 100. You're about halfway. What do you think are going to be some highlights, you hope, in the next half?
The next half, I would like to expand my business. I would say the last year working with a great organization called Maga, and they have really opened the doors and showed me different things to take my business to the next level. So I would like to say within the next 5 to 10 years, I'm having either multiple locations or my current location is more expanded. I also like to go into a different kinds of businesses, not just necessarily martial arts. Yeah, not just martial arts. Like I was talking with my fiance about it, and we're looking at like laundromats.
Oh, great business.
It's a great business. Low overhead.
You know how 50% of businesses are gone in the first 5 years?
Yeah, I heard two, but.
Or maybe it's two. I saw a documentary on laundromats, and something like 95% are still in business after 5 years.
That's what I hear.
It's one of the safest. There's cash involved. It's a great business.
I've heard that, and also storage units.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, places like so I'm trying to look at different things, and you and me, we're kind of like in the same age, but something in technology, like this kind of deal. I was walking, I came here a little early and I was looking around, I was like, wow, this is cool. Like maybe this is something I can do. I don't know.
Yeah.
But whatever it's going to be, it's going to be something that allows me to enjoy life, and leave something, for my kids. That's basically my main driving force to get out of bed every morning.
Yeah. The only thing with expanding into more academies is how do you spread yourself for all that? Would you have a specific number of professors in place? How would you do that?
Well, it's what I'm doing now. It's basically developing and duplicating myself. I have it's a matter of bringing in instructors, training them, but not just training them, but also showing them what their career path is going to be.
Yeah. So they're excited about it.
Yeah. So they're excited about it, and what's in it for them. Like what is it? What am I going to do here? How's this going to benefit me? So, yeah, this is what I want to do with you. This is where I expect you to. I want you to make the X amount of money, and I want you to have this amount of time, and during this amount of timeline, and if you can do that. Little by little along the way, there's going to be some people that are going to stay, on the bus, and then some people are going to get off the bus.
Yeah.
But along the way, we're going to try to keep as many people as we can, and hopefully grow. And the thing that I've been learning from mentors that have done this, as they've all told me, you got to have the mindset that you want to develop your team and not so much focus on yourself. And then, along the way, you're actually investing in your future. You actually do reap the benefits by being more about giving to them opportunity. And that's what I'm trying to do.
Something I found when I was running my company for 20 plus years, it's that I had a lot of buy-in from the employees on what the future of the company was and what their future could be within the company. And I think a lot of that came because I mentored them personally, and I told them, look, I could go coach a lot of other people, but as my employee, I'm coaching you, I'm mentoring you, but it's up to you. Whatever you need, come to me. You want to buy a house, you want to buy a car, you're thinking about this decision in your life. And I would check in with them. When they opened up to me and we'd go to lunch and they'd give me their goals, this is non-work related.
Sure.
When you have a boss that is nothing that I invented, I learned this from somebody. You have a boss that cares enough to ask you, like, what are your financial goals? What do you want to accomplish? When do you want to get married? You ask these things and they go, wow, my boss cares about me. And that was so helpful. And I can tell you, because they wouldn't quit. They'd come to me before something hit the fan because they have a problem in their life. And they say, hey, this might be coming around the corner. I had an employee tell me, look, I'm going to lose my ability to drive. I got a DUI before I got hired here a few months ago. Oh. And I don't know what I'm going to do. And we had already formed a really, really good bond. So he opened up to me, and he was a great guy. And look what happened. Because of that relationship that we had, I said, I don't want to lose you. He had just started. He was making $9 an hour and a 5% commission at all the trade shows we would do. And he was 22 years old. And I said, I don't want to fire you. I don't want you to leave. Come stay at my house for the next 6 months. And he did. That guy stayed with me 8 or 9 years. When he left, that last year, he was making $120,000 with me. And he was now almost 30 years old or right around there. And man, had I not taken that interest in him. So I'm sure you're doing it. Keep doing it. But it's really impactful, I found, with the employees when we take an interest in their life.
That what you just told me was very impactful, and I mean that. Especially, I look to you as a mentor. I know you're very successful in your own right, And I like to take like little tips like that, you know, because I would like to think that I am invested in my employees, but it's more on the business side. I never really taken action in terms of their personal side, you know, and that's something that I'll carry with me. Thank you so much.
Good. Yeah, because if we care about their life, then they're going to directly, indirectly, a little bit, a lot, whatever, they're going to care a little bit more about our life. And if our life is the business doing well, right, they're going to work a little harder in that business. They're not going to leave us stranded. They're more likely to show up, make that phone call, turn off that light, you know, take care of the business a little more, because after all, this is my friend's business. This is the guy who cares about me.
Okay.
So that's how I found, and that's one example, but I have many with employees. And so I really think that's helpful. What else you want to share?
I don't know. I think that's pretty much it. I think we can probably go another 2 hours. Well, that was great,
especially if we had food in front of us.
Yeah,
many hours.
Yeah, I will say that, like I mentioned earlier, you know, we're approaching 14 years of business at Kickfit Martial Arts. We do have an open house coming up. It's gonna be on October 5th, and it's located in Cooper City, so 8731 Sterling Road, from 10 to 2. And we're inviting anyone that wants to learn martial arts. That's actually a great day to go, because we're going to have a very deeply discounted special for enrollment. So that day you definitely want to go. Fun game for the kids and adults.
And the beautiful thing about martial arts, if someone's within 10, 15 miles of your academy and they're looking at that, there's no season. They don't have to wait for the spring or the summer. You just show up any day of the year.
For sure.
And then get started, right?
For sure. Yeah, anytime. Yeah, just check us out on kickfitflorida.com. Just, you know, fill out the opt-in, and we'll definitely get you set up.
You guys on social media? You're on Instagram?
We are. Kickfit Martial Arts for Instagram, and same thing for Facebook.
Awesome. Raul, thanks a lot. Thanks for being here.
Brother. Thanks for inviting me. It was fun.